Welcome to the next episode of Grimoires, Holy Texts, and Apocrypha. Today we're going to be discussing a book that is quite notorious. However, it is important that I emphasize that it is actually not a grimoire, contrary to many popular beliefs. In fact, this book was created for the purpose of determining whether or not a person who was alleged to be a vampire or a practitioner of baneful, dark magic or demonic summoning and the like could be determined. However, it's important to note that this was also created in conjunction with the Spanish Inquisition, and so the people who were alleged to be witches were usually not, and they often were innocent women who were wrongfully alleged and charged with crimes that they never committed. And this book, originally created in 1486, is considered to be the standard handbook on witchcraft. It remained the standard manual on witchcraft all the way up into the 18th century. And its appearance spurred a lot of controversy and hysteria in Europe. The book is none other than the Malleus Maleficarum, written by Heinrich Kramer. Now, it's important to note that the Malleus was the work of two Dominicans, Johann Springer, the dean of the University of Cologne in Germany, and Heinrich Institutorius Kramer, the professor of theology at the University of Salzburg in Austria. He was also the inquisitor of the Tyrol region of Austria, and in 1484, Pope Innocent issued the Bull-Summus Desiderantes Effectibus, in which he deplored the spread of witchcraft in Germany and authorized Springer and Kramer to extirpate it, thus starting the Spanish Inquisition. Now, the Malleus took together codified folklore and beliefs of the people within the area that it was produced. It was dedicated to an implementation of Exodus 22:18. You shall not permit a sorceress to live. And the work is divided into 3 parts. In part 1, the reality and depravity of witches is emphasized, and any disbelief in demonology is condemned as heresy. It also says, because of the nature of the enemy, any witness, no matter what his credentials, may testify against an accused. Part 2 is a compendium of fabulous stories about the activities of witches, including diabolic compacts, sexual relations with devils, incubi, succubi, transvection, night riding, and metamorphosis. Part 3 is then a discussion of the legal procedures to be followed in a witch trial. Torture is sanctioned as a means of securing confessions. Lay and secular authorities are called upon to assist inquisitors in the task of exterminating those with whom Satan has enlisted to his cause. The Malleus Maleficarum has went through 28 editions between 1486 and 1600, and was accepted by Roman Catholics and Protestants alike as an authoritative source of information concerning Satanism, demonology, and a guide to Christian defense. So, the Malleus Maleficarum is also known as the Hammer of Witches. It is basically the treatise about witchcraft, and as I said, it was written by the German Catholic Heinrich Kramer under his Latinized name Heinricus Institutor, and first published in the German city of Speyer in 1486. Some describe it as the compendium of literature and demonology of the 15th century. Kramer presented his own views as the Roman Catholic Church's position. The book was condemned by top theologians of the Inquisition at the Faculty of Cologne for recommending illegal procedures and for being inconsistent with Roman Catholic doctrine on demonology. However, Kramer was never removed and enjoyed considerable prestige thereafter as an inquisitor and the writer, one of the main writers of the Malleus Maleficarum. It labels any kind of sorcery as heresy. which was a crime at the time, and it recommends that any secular court prosecute it as. It also suggests that torture to get confessions and death are the only way to end the evils of a witch. When it was published, heretics were often then burned alive at the stake, and the Malleus Maleficarum suggested the same for anyone considered to be a witch. Even despite being condemned by other members of the church, the Malleus was incredibly popular. In 1519, a new author was added, which was Jacob Sprenger, and historians question since this was 33 years after the book was first printed and nearly 24 years after Sprenger died. But Kramer wrote the Malleus after he was expelled from Innsbruck by the local bishop. Kramer was accused of illegal behavior, and the tribunal suspended him because of his obsession with exual habits of the deceased. Helena Schumarin, the papal bull Summis Discernatis Efficatus, the witch bull, which formed the basis of investigation, permitted the investigation of heresy, but not actual impropriety. The Malleus Maleficarum was later revived by royal courts during the Renaissance, and it contributed to the increasingly brutal prosecution of witchcraft during the 16th and 17th century. Witchcraft, having been forbidden by the church, whose viewpoint on the subject was explained in the canon Episcopi, written in around 8900, stated that witchcraft and magic were delusions, and that those who believed in such things had been seduced by the devil in dreams and visions. However, in the same period, supernatural intervention was accepted in the form of ordeals that would later be used during the witch trial. Specifically, the element of doctrine that demons may be cast out by appropriate sacramental exorcisms. In the Malleus Maleficarum, exorcism is, for example, one of the 5 ways to overcome the attacks of incubi. Prayer and transubstantiation are traditionally excluded from the category of magical rites. So now let's take a look at the Malleus Maleficarum, now that we know a little bit about it, what it was used for, and what brought it into fruition. From archive.org, this is the Malleus Maleficarum, translated with introduction, bibliography, and notes by Reverend Montague Summers. And we can kind of take a look at this book now. It says, this edition of the Malleus Maleficarum, comprising 1,275 numbered copies, is here translated into English from the edition of 1489 for the first time. This is copy 417. There's the stamp. Contents and the questions for part 1. Second part. And third part there. Here's the introduction. And again, like I said, there's a lot of confusion about this book. This book is actually not a grimoire. Does not tell anything about how to spellcast or anything about magic or summoning or ritualism other than the things that they are discussing that those who engage in predatory behaviors and allegations might utilize. This is all just the introduction. It's loading up now. Here we go. Malleus Maleficarum. Very, very misunderstood book in the purpose of what it was made for. Definitely not a grimoire, but more of a reference book, a manual on how to basically conduct trials for witches and how to accuse people and investigate those who they suspected might be heretics so that they could do terrible things. So yeah, it's important that people know what the Malleus Maleficarum actually was for, and if you would like to check it out, you can easily do so by going here to archive.org and looking at the Malleus Maleficarum. There's some information about the book. Criminal procedure, see it, demonology, witchcraft, criminal law, English and Latin. Just crazy, isn't it? Isn't it crazy that they made something like that just so that they could find ways to get away with doing atrocious things to maintain control and enslave the populaces of the world, isn't it?